The phrase "put God first" is often used as a slogan, but it is actually the most profound psychological and spiritual strategy a human being can adopt. To put God first means to change the very center of your gravity. Most people live life with their ego at the center. They ask, what do I want? How do I look? Why did this happen to me? When you shift that center to the Creator, the questions change to, what does God want from me? How can I serve? What is the lesson in this trial? This shift is the foundation of true power. In a world that is constantly changing, where economies crash, health fails, and people change their minds, you need an anchor that is unshakable. If your happiness is tied to your bank account or your social status, you will live in constant anxiety because those things are fragile. But when you put God first, your foundation is the eternal. You develop a sense of inner peace that the world didn't give you and the world cannot take away. Putting God first starts the moment you wake up. In the modern world, the first thing most people do is reach for their phones. They fill their minds with news, emails, and the filtered lives of others. By doing this, they are putting the world first. To break this cycle, you must claim the first moments of your day for the divine. Silence, prayer, and gratitude set a spiritual frequency for your entire day. It creates a shield. When you start your day in conversation with God, the chaos of the afternoon cannot penetrate your heart. You move through the world with a sense of purpose because you know you are not walking alone. You realize that your life is not a series of random accidents, but a carefully designed path meant to lead you back to your source. It is easy to put God first when things are going well. It is easy to be grateful when the bills are paid and your family is healthy. But the true test of this principle happens in the valley, not on the mountaintop. Putting God first in the middle of a crisis is what builds spiritual muscle. When you face a setback, your instinct is to panic or complain. However, the spiritual mind views every obstacle as a divine filter. Sometimes God closes a door because he heard conversations you didn't hear, or he saw traps you couldn't see. Putting God first means trusting his delays over your deadlines. It means having the courage to say, I don't understand this pain, but I trust the one who is allowing it. This is the concept of Sabr, or beautiful patience. It isn't just waiting, it is the quality of your heart while you wait. This principle also applies to our relationships. We often suffer because we put people before God. We crave the approval of others, and we fear their criticism. But when you prioritize the Creator, the opinions of people lose their sting. You stop being a slave to the expectations of society. You become authentic because your only goal is to be right in the eyes of the one who created you. This actually makes your human relationships better. When you don't look to a person to be your everything, your God, you can love them for who they are, flawed, beautiful human beings. You stop putting the burden of your ultimate happiness on people who are just as lost as you are. By putting God first, you find the strength to forgive, the humility to apologize, and the wisdom to walk away from toxic environments that dim your spiritual light. The final stage of putting God first is the transition from belief to action. Spirituality is not just a feeling, it is a way of moving through the world. When God is first, your work becomes worship. Whether you are a student, a parent, a CEO, or a laborer, you perform your tasks with excellence because you are doing them for a divine audience. You stop cutting corners because you realize that even if your boss isn't watching, your Creator is. This is the path to true success. Putting God first also changes how you view your resources. You begin to see your time, your money, and your talents not as things you own, but as things you manage. You become a steward. You start asking, how can I use this blessing to help someone else? The more you give for the sake of God, the more you realize that you cannot outgive the Creator. The heart that is open to helping others becomes a vessel that God fills with more light, more wisdom, and more provision. In the end, putting God first is about the legacy you leave behind. We are all visitors on this planet. We brought nothing in, and we will take nothing out except our faith and our deeds. When you live a life centered on God, you live a life of significance. You become a source of peace for others. You become a light in the darkness. On your last day, the only thing that will matter is that connection you built with the divine. By putting him first today, you ensure that you are ready for that final meeting. You move from a life of getting to a life of being. You find that the void in your heart, which you tried to fill with money, fame, or pleasure, was actually a God-shaped hole that only he could fill. When he is first, everything else finally falls into its proper place.